Hello everyone, welcome back to the Midnight Archive. A quick disclaimer, this video isn't crazy advanced compared to a lot of the other stuff on YouTube, but it does require a bit of a background knowledge of basic Kabbalah. Tonight, let's dive deep into Sabbateanism, Frankism, and how it affects our world today. To understand Sabbateanism, we have to move past the Sunday school version of Kabbalah. We aren't just talking about light and dark. We're talking about a fundamental schism within the Ein Sof itself. In the standard Lurianic system, the Tzimtzum was an act of making space for creation. But in the technical system of Nathan of Gaza, as laid out in his treatise on the dragons, the contraction left behind two distinct forces. The thoughtful light, which seeks to build and order the world, and the thoughtless light, which resists form and seeks to remain in the primordial chaos. This thoughtless light isn't evil necessarily, but it is the raw entropic energy of the void. During Shevirat HaKelim, the breaking of the vessels, the thoughtless light became the klipoth, the husks, shells, or dragons. Nathan's radical thesis was that the soul of the Messiah was never part of the ordered world. It was a spark of the infinite that had been submerged in the great abyss of the thoughtless light since the beginning. Therefore, the Messiah is the holy snake, the only entity capable of navigating the abyss without being consumed by it. This brings us to Sabbatai Zevi. When Zevi converted to Islam in 1666, it was not a surrender. In the internal logic of the system, it was a surgical strike. Sabbatai Zevi's strange deeds, like eating the forbidden fats or pronouncing the tetragrammaton, were technical violations designed to tease the sparks of light out of the shells of the law. By converting to Islam, Zevi was performing an ascent through a descent. He entered the heart of the alien fire to reclaim the final sparks that the Jewish law could no longer reach. This created the Donmeh. They became a community of binitarians, outwardly Muslim, inwardly Kabbalistic. They developed a unique liturgy that blended the Zohar with Islamic Sufism, creating a, quote, third way that existed between the worlds. They believed they were the architects of the invisible, working in the shadows to prepare the world for a total transformation that the uninitiated could not perceive. By the 1750s, the movement shifted from the Mediterranean to the dark heart of Eastern Europe. Jakob Frank appeared, claiming to be the reincarnation of Sabbatai Zevi. But Frank's Kabbalah was much more nihilistic. He taught that the tree of knowledge, or da'ath, or the law, had died, and only the tree of life remained. And the tree of life demanded the destruction of all boundaries. Frank's most technical doctrine was the way to Esau. He argued that the Jewish people had been weakened by the law, and to become strong again, they had to cross over into the wild, martial energy of the Gentiles. This led to the mass conversion of Frankists to Catholicism in Poland. Unlike the Donmeh, who were quietists, the Frankists were militant. Frank established a private army and a royal court in Offenbach. He taught that the Big Brother, a cryptic term for the divine guide, demanded a total reversal of values. He included the ritualized extinguishing of the lamps, where traditional sexual taboos were discarded. Apparently, this wasn't hedonism. It was an alchemical attempt to neutralize the power of the klipoth by experiencing them fully. This is where history and the occult intersect in a way that shaped our modern world. In the late 18th century, the remnants of the Frankist elite began to integrate into the burgeoning secret societies of the Enlightenment. As documented in the records of the Asiatic Brethren, high-level Frankists like Ephraim Joseph Hirschfeld and Thomas von Schoenfeld, who was Jakob Frank's nephew, became the primary architects of Western Freemasonry's occult grades. They took the heretical Kabbalah, the obsession with the abyss and the holy snake, and made it more Gentile-ish. They stripped away the Hebrew names but kept the technical process. The idea that the initiate must descend into the darkness of the self to find the hidden light. This influence flowed directly into the Martinist order, the Golden Dawn, and eventually the Thelemic movements of the 20th century. The real truth here is that modern Western occultism isn't just Old Testament magic. It's specifically Sabbatean-Frankist Kabbalah in a Western mask. Now, we have to address the elephant in the room, the social and political legacy. We have to be very precise here. It is a historical fact that the descendants of the Sabbatean and Frankist movements, who by the 19th century were often secularized, wealthy, and highly educated, held influential positions across Europe, especially in Turkey and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. This wasn't a cabal in the sense of men in a room wearing cloaks, but rather a school of thought that prioritized radical change, the breaking of old habits, and the acceleration of history. This current was instrumental in the birth of several major political shifts. 1. The Young Turks. Members of the Donmeh were central to the 1908 revolution in the Ottoman Empire, seeking to modernize and secularize the state. 2. Early Zionism. While the majority of religious Jews initially opposed Zionism as, quote, forcing the hand of God, the Sabbatean-Frankist current, which already believed in forcing the end, found a natural home in the movement. Figures influenced by this antinomian spirit argued that a physical return to the land was the only way to shatter the shells of the diaspora. 3. The nihilistic modernity. The Frankist ethos of redemption through sin echoes in many 20th century revolutionary movements. The idea that you must tear down the old to build the new is the secularized version of Nathan of Gaza's descent into the abyss. But we must be clear. This movement, the Sabbatean-Frankist current, was and is a radical deviation from traditional Judaism. In fact, traditional rabbinic authorities were the greatest enemies of the Sabbateans, excommunicating them and warning the world about them for centuries. These individuals were a third nation, an elite underground current that felt rejected by the mainstream Jewish community and sought to rebuild the world in their own image. To conflate them with the majority of the Jewish people is not only historically inaccurate, but a categorical error. They were the holy outcasts, and their fingerprints are on the glass of our modern institutions, not because of a religious conspiracy, but because their philosophy of radical disruption became the operating system of the modern world. The holy snake is still moving, whether in the rituals of high magic or the disruptive nature of modern geopolitics. The impulse to find light in the violation of the law remains the most potent and dangerous force in our history. Thanks for staying with me through the deep water.